My name's Naama Cates. I'm an artist, a filmmaker, and a producer, and I currently host a podcast called Incel about the community of involuntary celibate young men that has come into some controversy recently. The show is an exploration of the group, which I guess they would hesitate to call themselves a movement, but many people do, so I guess that makes me a researcher as well. I've been noticing the increasing polarization, or at least the appearance of increasing polarization, a lot recently over the last few years in my country, here in the US especially, and it's gotten to the point where everything is politicized. I think this is magnified largely by social media. Platforms like Facebook and Twitter implement algorithms that encourage shocking and controversial speech. This has been studied and documented by a PBS documentary called The Facebook Dilemma, that was very well done and came out under a year ago in October of 2018. So this technology encourages this type of speech. It makes it more visible. And as a result, people are more likely to make it. They are rewarded by technological little gifts like likes and follows and retweets and reposts, etc. And this gives us sort of a dopaminergic reward as well in the brain. And that leads people to want to do it. It feels good. As a result of this, the tech giants that control these conversations, like Twitter and Facebook, in an attempt to discourage this, are also dealing with it by censorship. And so the censorship and shocking speech kind of dance creates a symbiotic relationship between these two behaviors. And we've seen more and more of both of them. I think most of the time, this behavior is just frustration or venting or attention seeking, and it is just mischief, but in the wrong hands with some vulnerable individuals, it can lead to violence, and it has. My experience with the incel movement, or with an incel, occurred quite a bit before I started the show, and the individual was not involved with the movement online, I don't believe. But he shared a lot of these ideologies and beliefs and had a lot of anger and frustration, was a very depressed young man with some unregulated hostility targeted at me and at women and at people in general. I couldn't help him, unfortunately, and I do feel bad for that, but he gave me the interest in this group. Since then, since formally approaching it, my interactions with people in the community have actually been rather pleasant. They are rather thoughtful people. It's largely young men, or men in general, who are maybe a little bit antisocial or just different, and are actually discussing rather natural questions for young men or people in general really to have at a certain point, sort of existential, philosophical questions about the meaning of life and values and what makes a person a good person, what makes them a valued person, a desired person, and obviously questions about sexual and romantic interactions. I think that those are normal and natural questions, and I think that they're not really being addressed very much in society today. And then maybe that's partly why they do it. I've also noticed that there's a kind of the nature of this shocking, unpleasant, even brutal, as they would say, truths about reality, that there's a lot of that. There's a lot of ribbing and sort of giving each other a hard time. And I think that that's kind of a natural state of play for young men especially that's very discouraged today. And I don't know that that's healthy to sort of try to keep people safe from that. I think that the play itself maybe toughens people up a bit or something like that, prepares them for atrocities that do exist. I've certainly felt that I've gotten stronger during my experience. The release of the show has been interesting. It's been really good for the most part. It has also been mixed and also polarized and controversial, I suppose. Even before the release itself, there were some people calling for its cancellation or for it not to begin. When I released the trailer, for example, I've gotten all kinds of accusations about my agenda. And there have also been some really great comments, and I've gotten great feedback. And in general, there has been a lot of interest, and it does seem to be resonating with people. But those who dislike it, most of them don't seem to listen to it, really. Some of them even say that they don't, or that they quit halfway through, or that they refuse to. And I think that that's sort of representative of a greater problem today, that people are unwilling to listen to each other. Being unwilling to listen to someone because they are a member of a certain group, whether it be those rapists or those immigrants crossing the border or those incels, it doesn't just lead to hate. I think it is hate. I think that is hate, denying someone else's humanity and their emotional experience is hate. We need to be a lot more careful with those labels. I heard of Light Upon Light initially from a listener of my show who is a researcher and specialist in CVE and especially in online radicalization. And she told me about the organization and told me about Jesse. I had made the connection pretty early on between incels and the extremist movements like the jihadists and the white supremacists, especially in the nature of their development and recruitment online, their organization online. And I also believe that there are overarching, sort of overlapping similarities between both groups. I think that Light Upon Light is an organization that recognizes that the appeal of answering a call of extremism increases for someone who's been dispossessed and who is frustrated with society and who feels no allegiance to the societal bonds that the rest of us might. And I think that the Control-Alt-Delete-Hate method for combating extremism is promising and humanizing. And so, of course, I would want to be a part of that.